All right. Well, welcome to Techo Dragon News. We've had a crazy news cycle here, and T minus January 19th, 2025. Now, the biggest one being this whole hostage deal with Israel and Hamas. Now, you're thinking to yourself, and you're saying, how is this like? Is this like the end of it? How can that be the end of it? You know what I mean? Like it's just like there's so much going back and forth, and look how horrible this is. Some of the hostages are missing their fucking goddamn things. Oh man, it's brutal. And we see these images online, and we're like, what the hell? Like, so is it over? What I think happened is I think that Trump told Israel, you know what, stop. Stop fighting. I need this as a win. All these promises, all these security guarantees. Look at this shit. Look at how fucking crazy that is. And we're like, it's like, so like, if anything, this whole frenzy around this conflict has created almost in many ways a kind of vacuum. It's the same situation as Afghanistan and Iraq. uh, you can't help but kind of feel that this is a L for Israel to see these types of images on the world stage. Al Jazeera, just insanity, and as a person who's just totally removed from the conflict as an outsider completely looking in, I gotta say that on both sides, there's probably so much vitriol that you can't really stop this conflict. It's just it's just like a perpetual wheel of confrontations between just bitter anger and just complete desire for revenge. So this isn't over, and it's isn't it ironic that this happened at the very day around the time Trump gets inaugurated? It all speaks to me of backroom deals and false promises to the general public. It's not going away. It really is not going away, and it's like you got to ask yourself, how can a conflict like this end? How does it end when you have two mortal rivals and enemies living right next to each other, and from the events of all that has happened so far, only gonna get worse? I called it from the very beginning. I said Israel was never gonna find them all hidden in that rubble, because in a war zone like that, guerrilla warfare rules dictate that it's like the same as Vietnam. All right, in Vietnam, there was a complete a barrier between the American troops and the Vietnamese because they knew the land. It was their habitat. They lived in there. And the same thing happened with Hamas and insurgent groups in those layers, is that they're coming to a defensible position, and in warfare, you're always limited when you're doing that, and you can't defeat an ideology. So I mean, there's things here that are speaking to that nothing's fucking over, and mark my words, these kinds of conflicts are just gonna keep going. Because there's a whole new cycle of people who have lost brothers, sons, mothers, daughters. There's a whole new cycle of people that are going to be created from this that amplify the war. It ramps it up. It makes it more, that. And we're not even talking about Iran yet. This is just insurgency groups of in and around Israel. So I mean, you're dealing with something that is not going to go away anytime soon. So let's move on to the TikTok ban, which was this cycle of news was, as someone who kind of despises TikTok and thinks it's kind of like brain rot, stupid country, and yeah, for sure they use they used TikTok to build a database of everyone around the Western Sphere. You got to remember that, it's not just some rich kid who's running around with a noodle haircut making TikToks that's they're gonna be after. That could be the son of a person who works at a massive energy facility or a higher up CDO of some business. They can use that to get to anyone and anything, and that's how they do it. So the whole thing speaks to me as something was going on in the background. Either Trump said to get rid of it and they overturned the ban, or maybe they stole the code somehow, repurposed it, and now there's two entities. China no longer has access to TikTok. But I mean, it's like I said, there's something fucked up going on in here in the background, and what I think it really is I think it's just signs of a east-west tension. I think it just nobody can deny the fact that it looked like there's some tension going on here, and maybe it's all peaceful, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. I don't buy it. Now, Zelensky in the Ukraine war has been such an interesting thing because here you have Trump going through all these sequences of saying he's going to pull out of NATO, no more money for Ukraine. We don't want any we don't want anything to do with Europe's wars. Well, now that things have actually tailored into this, what's Zelensky gonna do? He's a man who's fought for his country for years and years and years. Now he's being turned, likely having his back turned on him when Trump turns back on NATO. So it's signs that there's political infighting amongst members of NATO. And what Trump is going to do is it's kind of like throwing a pebble into the water. It just throws it and it causes all this disruption. And we've seen that Zelensky this is a very suppressed fact about the news, is that Zelensky was not invited to the inauguration. Now there's rumors going back and forth to everyone, but fuck, what I mean, like these are people who are fundamentally not gonna get along. Zelensky and Trump are not going to be close allies. They just not. They're just not. They just have history together. These two. One shows that one shows that he doesn't care about the problems of that, and you would argue that Trump has an ideology that is very anti-helping Ukraine, and maybe he'll turn things around. Maybe he'll send in the boys to the U.S. to back Ukraine more, and this is going to make Putin kind of flip out and be like, "Whoa, I thought we were friends," and that's a dangerous situation because these are nuclear armed countries, the biggest in the world, the United States and Russia, and when you have some bad blood going on between old friends, what do you get? You get conflict. So I mean, the whole thing is like very dangerous powder keg situation, and everybody acts just like Trump's gonna save the world, and the world is now we're free, and it's a very bizarre situation, but that something's brewing. So I think that World War III is no doubt on the cards of all this, because what's going to happen is that now you have these two powers vying for the appraisal of the great United States and the Russia's arguably greatest enemy in the world, because they got so many nukes. They could do whatever the fuck they wanted if it wasn't for the United States. And if China's on Russia's side in all this, we're in big trouble, because Trump either A, made the enemies of the West way stronger, or B, what he did is he created a situation that's going to cause all these back and forths. And either way, that's bad. Either way, that's bad. Either there's a bitter rivalry that causes World War III, or there's a huge mistake and a political powder keg that also causes things. The Franz Ferdinand moment, so to speak. And this could be anything. This could be from a drone strike on NATO territory. This could be a miscalculation on a coordinates in it ends up in territory. So like there's so many situations that World War III could break through out of. You have but I think in my opinion the worst one, the one that just really makes me sick to my stomach, the one that I keep thinking of that I remember saying that I've always been a prophecy that World War III will come true because I mean, let's face it, we're living through history right now. And I feel as if people are like not looking at this about like the pride of man and the false prophet could be Trump when you think about it in the Bible in the verses of Armageddon of all these things. So I mean the look at Eric Trump. So I mean we're dealing with people who could potentially send us to the brink of something way way crazier. And the rivalry between these three characters is one of the most important rivalries going on right now because you have Putin, who's a very calculated individual. You have Trump, who's a very pro American, always in America's interest. Then you have Zelensky, who's just fighting for his things. And all three of these people are vying for each other's control. So you have this shift in dynamics, whereas before Biden and Putin were enemies, and you had Zelensky who was with Biden, and that was a solid 2 versus 1. But now you have this three for all situation, and it's just these. This is a dynamic that's going to choose whether or not nuclear ballistic missiles are flying. So I mean, we have problems, and that if Zelensky thinks that he is going to be abandoned by Trump, he could try something to try and get the advantage. Because you got to remember, they're fighting for their very survival there. So you could prompt Zelensky for trying to manufacture a nuke. So yeah, there's all these things. So there's all these things. But yeah, I mean, like, there's all manner of situations that could come for this, but don't expect that World War III is off the table, folks, because shit just got a lot more interesting, especially with this Israel-Palestine thing, because that's just a powder keg. That is just waiting for something bigger to happen and grander, and for the conflict to evolve as conflicts kind of do, as these wars can continue to evolve. None of it seems great. Look at the Trump and the village people. Yeah, this was great. I must say this was pretty hilarious. The fucking village people dancing at Trump's inauguration. Oh, that's funny. And this is just like this is the kind of here. There's a Forbes. Watch if you go to Forbes fucking website, it'll like tell you to buy 100 fucking things. After one centing Trump sees this letter. Yeah, they're sure all lining up to kiss that ass. That was hilarious. And this what you're seeing here is the rise of power. He has so much power and influence over all these celebrities that you like Snoop Dogg, who look at the things that Snoop has done towards Trump, and you have them all just caving like dominoes, and that's what you see the rise of power. That is what you're seeing there, is the rise of someone who's influencing these celebrities in a way that is very profound, and just making them cave like dominoes, basically. It's really crazy to see. So I mean, yeah, we got some shit going on, people. But like I said, biggest problem by and long. Uh, Trump said he was gonna pull a new of better not continue saying that. Nada. Trump, Trump will have dot. So this is a story that is very important. Business Insider, Trump pulling a nail. There's a lot of these things circulating, and it all just kind of went away. But it's a story that they're trying not to. It's a story they're trying not to emanate too much. There is most certainly um, something to be said on the world stage that there is a massive tension between the West and their central power structure, which is the United States, and it's a NATO thing to really um, you know, to say, whose side are we really on? And that's kind of interesting when you think about it, because man, there's definitely going to be a shift in world politics, that's for sure. And I find it absolutely fascinating. It's truly interesting as hell to me, because I think about what how would that impact our life everywhere, and it's pretty insane what it was going on. So tomorrow's the inauguration. It's going to be a spectacle. It'll be 24 hours on our news feed, and yeah, it's my opinion is that it is, like I said, it's throwing a pebble into a pond. You throw it into the pond, creates a ripple effect, and all these world events start happening, like what's happening in Israel and Palestine. Gonna probably get worse, one would imagine there. The Russia Ukraine situation, now you got these very interesting power dynamics working on tandem with each other. And also, you have now this East versus West China TikTok thing that everyone's thinking to themselves, like, they took away our social media for this. So I mean, this is another thing that is really, really, really going to go ballistic in our modern society, is this East first West mentality. And yeah, I mean, anything can change from here, because TikTok is like this vacuum for it's a vacuum for people to express how just how silly and weird the world is. And I think that kind of erodes at society's boundaries. So it's almost like by bringing TikTok back, that can continue. And like, yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion, is that these things are sometimes implanted in order to break down our societies. And that most certainly is what was involved in it being banned, it being reinstated. It has to do with all that shit, for sure. So, I mean, interesting times, that's for sure. And on top of that, there was like a Trump meme coin that went up and then went down, and it looks like a lot of people lost money. I don't really care about the crypto space. I don't care about any kind of that. I wouldn't meme coins wouldn't expect for that to make you anything, really, honestly. Maybe some people have, but it's a gambling type thing. All the people who have lost lots on it, There's plenty of people who have made lots and gone around with supermodels and Lamborghinis. But on the flip side, just like life in general, like there's people who have lost all their money and had to get rid of everything and done all this shit. So yeah, fucking crazy times, that's for sure. And we haven't even talked about climate change, AI, the LA fires that caused massive and are still causing massive social disorder. We haven't talked about political instability in Europe. We haven't talked about China and Taiwan. So all these world events are just getting insane, and you got to kind of shift your opinions on what actually is going to occur, because strategically the world is headed towards World War III. It's very likely that it's going to happen, and this is all just speaking to more that there is going to be a third world war, and it's going to be very intense. The day that that happens, uh, and it could start from, and it could have been always started from the war in Ukraine. It could have been the catalyst towards World War III, because it's certainly, you can't just end it. How can It's the same thing with Israel and Palestine. How can these people just stop fighting all of a sudden? It doesn't make any sense. There's too much bad blood, and if Trump does something to try and change the whole war in Ukraine situation, it's not going to. It just can't. You can't just end conflicts like that. These wars have to see themselves to their conclusion, and then fortunately, one of the people involved, Russia, having the most nuclear weapons of any country, and the world's biggest nuclear arsenal, is involved in that. So they're not going to stop till they've totally conquered all their military goals, and it's like it's just signs of this was an interesting, so we'll end with this one. Ukraine opens up a new front against Russia, flattering Trump. So we have CNN, who has now thrown out the window their credibility. They don't care. They've gone full right, full and sword of Trump's. World leaders have been rushing to get on Trump's good side ever since he's been reelected as U.S. Arguably none more so than Ukraine. So there's something weird going on in this sphere for sure. It's fucking true, man. World War III is gonna fucking happen. You can feel it. This makes it worse. This makes it way worse. Zelensky does not have the luxury to be hostile towards Trump. See, it's all falling under Trump. Jeez, look at that cannon. Yeah, and they've been just. It's been a back and forth real war going on, and it's only gonna get crazier. It's only gonna get crazier. I think that the pretext to World War III is the fact that you have this back and forth and power struggle that is just this huge vacuum spinning like a vortex between all these major powers, and it's just like it has to happen. Aligning interests. Another factor is that, unlike previous U.S. administrations, Trump fundamentally believes he can have good relations with leader Vladimir Putin. He has long expressed his admiration of Putin, while other world leaders have shunned him and pledged him to meet him very quickly in office. So this is like saying that Putin and Zelensky can be friends. Now, do you think that is possible? Do you think they're all three of them are going to sit in a room one day? And I mean, they might happen. This crazy world is there's very likely to happen. But I mean, it's I don't buy it for a minute. And I think that the world is going to get even more fucking crazy because it already kind of does. And it's like all these events have kind of cycled up to this. The Ukraine government believes Ukraine is trying to present Kiev's defeat over Moscow as something that would strengthen Americans' power projecting over the world. This is the game. Whether Trump will believe in the strategy is another question. Anything that will end in 100% in Putin's favor. And I'm sure Zelensky knows this because Zelensky is a smart man. He is a historical figure. He's someone people will talk about in 50 or 100 years. So, I mean, you gotta look at these events as being so cool because one day nobody will have an idea the way we lived. And nowadays, with the internet, if we're still around in 100 years, with the internet and all the data stored on it, you can get these insights into what people who live today thought about Zelensky and thought about the war in Ukraine and the world events. So, I mean, I think it's really cool. I love talking about it. So, peace out.